What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well, feeling great, and enjoying freedom. It's a great day to have a great day. Today, I wanted to talk about silver and also a little bit of gold. More specifically, I wanted to talk about some of the reasons why I believe it kind of appears that the precious metals are about ready to jump. We're going to get into it, but really quick, just in case you're new, make sure to subscribe for daily videos, subscribe to my second channel for weekly videos. Go and get yourself some DYDSS merchandise to help support the channel. Come and join us in the Precious Metals VIP Club for giveaways, live streams, deal alerts, and a whole lot more. And of course, make sure to go and get your 6 free stocks by downloading Webull and funding your account. Everything will be linked in the description. So today is Monday, May 23rd, 2022. The spot price of silver, as I'm filming the video, is $22.16. It's up 38 cents today so far, or up 1.75%. A pretty big jump for the beautiful white metal, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we're going to be talking about today. Spot price of gold is $18.62 even. It's up $15.30 today so far, or up 0.83%. A pretty solid green day for the beautiful yellow metal as well. And of course, the gold to silver ratio is in the 84-to-1 range. But of course, that's as I'm filming the video, not as I'm editing, posting, or as you're watching. So head on down to the comments and let me know the date and time you're viewing the video and what the current spot price is for you. I'm always curious. Alright, so in today's video, I wanted to talk about a couple of different things. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Federal Reserve. I wanted to talk a little bit about public perception. I wanted to talk about why I personally believe that with the Federal Reserve raising rates, I think it's kind of being priced in that the Federal Reserve is essentially here to save us and that we're going to be in the free and clear like over the next couple of months. And I think that's playing a big role in why the silver and gold are moving in a downward direction. It might not be all of the reasons, but I think that's a big player right now. And obviously what you can see on display right here, we have a nice little selection, a little bit of everything. We have a silver kraken, we have a silver werewolf, we have a silver maple kangaroo, type 1 and type 2, American silver eagle. We have some queen's beasts, the Yale and the Greyhound right here in the center, with the 5-ounce Aztec calendar round on top of that. We have a 10-ounce bull bar, a 1-ounce Westminster and American flag bar. We have a 5-ounce sunshine bar on top of a 10-ounce sunshine bar. And then, of course, we have some fractional gold. We have a Philharmonic. We have an eagle. I can't even tell what that is underneath it, but we have a Britannia. And obviously, we have, other coins as well. And I have a Kookaburra over here, too. I just can't tell what order they're in from this angle. The point being is we have a nice little selection here on display. And I'm sure it's no secret that the spot price of the precious metals have been on a little bit of a decline for the last 3 or so weeks. In fact, around this time last month, 3-4 weeks ago, I remember posting a video talking about how the spot price had climbed all the way up to $26 an ounce, and that's premium excluded. Then we saw the spot price go back to the $25 and the $24 an ounce range, which is kind of where it was sitting for quite a bit of time. So I wasn't surprised by that at all. I kind of assumed that that was going to happen. But then it went to 23. Then it went to 22. And in the last week or so, we saw it go down to 21, which really caught me off guard. I didn't think we were going to see the spot price of silver go back into the $21 an ounce range, premium excluded, of course. I didn't think it was going to happen at all. And then you want to know what surprised me even more? Seeing the spot price go down into the $20 range. Not only did it go down to the $21 an ounce range, which was a shock enough for me, but then it went to the $20 range. Then it popped back up a little bit. But point being is that right now, silver's sitting in the low 20s. 21, $22 an ounce for the last week, or should I say 20, 21, 22 within the last week. Kind of doesn't make sense, especially when we're going through, at this point, month after month after month after month. What has it been? About 6 months now of rampant inflation. If we're going through inflationary times, and silver and gold typically do better during inflationary times than regular times, then why are the silver and gold suffering right now? Because guess what? It's not just silver. Gold went down to the very low $1,800 range last week, and I started thinking, oh man, are we going to see $1,700 something gold? I hope so, but I don't know if I believe it. Just like I don't know if I believe if we're going to see silver go under $20. I've been saying that for how long now? Silver's proved me wrong going in upward and downward direction, so I don't even want to say anything like that anymore. But I truly didn't believe it. But guess what? For the last week, we've been very, very close. So at this point, I don't even know if it would be that big of a surprise. But with us going through inflationary times right now, we found out in January that December's inflation was 7%. We found out in February that January's inflation was 7.5%. We found out in March that February inflation was 7.9%. We found out in April that March inflation was 8.5%. And then, of course, this month in May, we found out that April inflation was 8.3%, which is just a hair lower than it was last month, but it's still sky high as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that's much of a reduction going from 8.5 to 8.3. But hey, if we're going through these inflationary times, why are the precious metals suffering? Especially considering that the precious metals typically do better during inflationary times. And on top of that, we are on the brink of recessionary times, and it's more than likely that we're currently in a recession right now. The only reason I can't say that we're not for sure in a recession is because we haven't got the GDP data for Q2 yet. We're in Q2. We'll find out in Q3. But we're more than likely in a recession at this point in time. We had negative GDP growth in the first quarter of the year, and we're halfway through the second quarter of the year, and it's really not looking too good. Inflation is still sky high. We still have supply chain constraints. Now we're starting to see issues regarding employment, or should I say more issues regarding employment. We're starting to see analysts and experts missing expectations by a lot. We missed expectations on the first quarter of GDP. We missed expectations on the most recent inflation report when it comes to year over year, month over month, and core inflation. We missed on expectations when it comes to New York manufacturing reports. And guess what? A lot of big companies and corporations are going through some rough financial times right now. Usually a big indicator that we are on the brink of recessionary times is when we see an incline from Walmart and a decline from Target. And those earnings reports just came out last week, and we're actually seeing a decline from both. I don't know if it does the same thing for you as it does to me, but that's a little bit alarming. So we are more than likely in a recession right now. I know those aren't the only things we need to look at. There's a whole long list of factors, and everything on that list of factors has a separate list of sub-factors. I'm well aware of that, but these are some major recessionary time indicators. So on top of the question, if we're going through inflationary times, and silver and gold typically do pretty well during inflationary times, and we are more than likely going through recessionary times, and once again, silver and gold do typically pretty well during recessionary times, why are we seeing the spot price go down? Or why have we? For the last month, it's been going straight down. Why is that the case? I don't know for absolute sure, but I do believe that it's being priced in that the Federal Reserve raising rates is going to solve the problem. Now, will it solve the problem? It might in the short term. I don't think it's going to do anything at all for the ultimate long-term problem. In the short term, it can go either way. I think it might have a positive short-term impact, raising rates. I think it is going to help reduce inflation. I don't know if we're going to get inflation all the way down to the target of somewhere between 2 and 3%. I don't know how realistic that seems. But I personally believe that it's being priced in right now that the Federal Reserve raising rates will solve the problem. I think that's what a lot of public perception is right now. I think a lot of people see that the Federal Reserve is raising rates and they're saying to themselves, okay, yeah, we are officially transitioning out of the overstimulated economy. No more free borrowing of money. No more free investing. No more free expanding businesses and free growth. Now, all of a sudden, growth is going to slow down. But it's going to be more stable. And I think that typically the Federal Reserve raising rates, it's to not only lower inflation or to combat inflation, I should say, but it's also to help prevent us from falling into a recession. And I think that's what people are pricing in right now. I think people see that the Federal Reserve is raising rates, and I think they're saying to themselves, okay, that means inflation will absolutely come down. That means recession will absolutely be avoided. Well, guess what? They're probably wrong. But I personally believe that's what's being priced in right now. I have a very strong feeling that there are a lot of people right now that don't look at silver and gold as the flight to safety that they maybe that's how they felt a couple months ago or last year or maybe even earlier this year. But I don't know, or I don't really feel confident that people still look at silver and gold as the flight to safety at the moment, because I think right now a lot of people don't think there's a need for a flight to safety. I don't think people believe that there needs to be a safe haven right now. I think people are pricing in that inflation's going to come down and that a recession is going to be completely avoided. Therefore, everything's going to be fine and dandy on the other side. I think that's what's being priced in right now. And with silver and gold, mainly gold, being used, especially by the big dogs, as a way of providing some stability during times of economic instability, I think the precious metals just become less attractive to the people who feel as though there might not need to be that sense of stability. I think they believe that there will be stability elsewhere. Now, I could be wrong. I could be right. I could be partially wrong and partially right. These are just some of my thoughts. But I also wanted to point out that we do have another Federal Reserve FOMC meeting coming up very, very soon. We're actually, we're at the end of May right now, and the Federal Reserve's next big meeting is going to be on June 14th and 15th. So we're going to get a lot of information at that point. I know in the world of finance, 2.5 to 3 weeks away is like a lifetime. So I know I'm talking about this extremely far in advance, but I wanted to mention it ahead of time. June 14th to 15th, mark your calendar for then, because we're going to get a lot of information. The Federal Reserve, they're going to be meeting and they're going to be talking about re-strategizing if need be. See, this whole year so far, we've been talking about 25 basis point hikes. And we just had a 50 basis point hike this past meeting earlier this month. So the Federal Reserve, they're going to be talking about whether or not it's necessary to raise rates at a quicker pace. Now, this wasn't the game plan. The Federal Reserve, they like to stick to their game plan. They like to stick to their strategy, and they like to remain as predictable as possible because the last thing they want to do is cause a market shock. But the way inflation has been going, they might not have a choice. They might have to resort to raising rates in larger increments, just as a method of getting inflation under control. Because what we've been seeing this entire year so far, we saw, like I said, 7% to 7.5%, to 7.9%, to 8.5%, to now 8.3%. Sure, inflation, the headline number for inflation, has started to inflect down mildly. But here's the thing. People believe that inflation has plateaued at this point. Yeah, it went from 8.5 to 8.3. That's not enough for people to say, oh yeah, inflation's coming down. No, it's only down by just a hair. The big fear nowadays isn't that inflation will continue skyrocketing. The fear at the moment is that inflation has already skyrocketed and it's just staying up there in the sky. That's almost as bad as inflation continuing to climb. Inflation to climb up to a high point and then just move sideways at that point. Imagine the next inflation report that comes out, which, by the way, should be released June 10th. But imagine that report comes out, and it's pretty much the same as it was last one. You know how we went from 8.5 to now 8.3? Imagine the next one comes out and it's, 8.4 or 8.1 or 8.2 or something like that. And we see that inflation, once again, has barely budged. And then imagine the next report comes out. And then imagine it's the same, somewhere between 8 and 8.5 or something like that. That's the fear right now. The fear right now is that inflation has plateaued, which obviously isn't nearly as bad as inflation continuing to build and build and build and build, but it's definitely not good either, because we've been raising rates for a couple of months now. We've gone through a couple of raises, and we got another one coming up pretty soon in a couple of weeks. Inflation should be really inflecting down and moving in a downward direction. So the Federal Reserve might have to change their strategy here. In fact, I'm kind of leaning more in the direction of that they will. I think it's more likely for the Federal Reserve to change the game plan than it is for them to stick to the game plan at this point, just because of how inflation has been looking and the fact that the last couple of rate hikes haven't really done anything at all for inflation. And if that were to happen, if I'm right on that right there, which, by the way, I reserve the right to change my opinion if confronted with new information. Absolutely. It's not the hill I'm willing to die on, but if I end up being right on this point, we're probably going to see a market shock. And Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve is already kind of hinting at a recession. See, originally, it was to avoid a recession at all costs. Now, all of a sudden, it's to avoid a recession or, at the very least, keep the labor market strong. That second part, that second half of that statement, that never used to be there. We used to never talk about avoiding a recession, or at the very least, if we go into a recession, we'll try to keep the labor market strong. That never used to be talked about. It used to be about avoiding a recession and keeping the labor market strong. See, Jerome Powell, of the chair of the Federal Reserve, even he's kind of appearing to flip-flop a little bit. So again, it wouldn't shock me all that much if the Federal Reserve has to flip-flop on their game plan. And like I said, if that ends up being the case, which at this point seems a little bit more likely than not, it's probably going to cause a market shock. And people are probably going to panic, and we're probably going to see the stock market take a massive hit. And that will probably affect the precious metals in the short term, but I think that could probably ultimately strengthen the precious metals, especially if people wake up to the fact that, oh no, the Federal Reserve has to take emergency action on inflation. That's bad news right there. The Federal Reserve might end up being wrong about falling into a recession. That's bad news right now. And guess what? Bad news is typically good news for the precious metals. I know I'm speculating over here, and as I always say, it doesn't really matter to me too much about what spot price does in the short term. I prefer for the silver and gold to be as low as possible because I'm in acquisition mode and I'm trying to get as much as I can possibly get my hands on. So I'm not saying, oh, precious metals are about to explode, they're about to take off. I'm not saying it for that reason right there. I just personally believe that if I end up being right about what the Federal Reserve has in store for us over the next couple of weeks, I think the silver and gold could probably end up jumping at that point. But those are just some of my thoughts. Those are just some of my beliefs. I'm kind of just thinking out loud in today's video, but I did want to offer a little bit of insight and toss out a couple of ideas and really just spark a conversation and give people a heads up that we have a couple of Federal Reserve meetings coming up and rate hikes coming up, and obviously the inflation report coming up in a couple of weeks. So head on down to the comments and let me know anything and everything related to today's video topic. If you guys like today's video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, subscribe to my second channel, which is my backup channel for exclusive weekly content. Go and get yourself some DYDSS merchandise to help support the channel in the biggest possible way. We got t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, coffee mugs in a bunch of different designs. A lot of the products are helping us raise some funds and awareness for different charity organizations, by the way. DYDSS store will be linked in the description. Come and join us in the Precious Metals VIP Club, which is where I do giveaways every single month, live streams multiple times a week, deal alerts on silver and gold almost every single day. You can watch all of my videos early and commercial free, and every Saturday morning I post a brand new vlog. I just posted one a couple of days ago. You're definitely going to want to go and watch that. And there are a ton of other perks as well. VIP Club link in the description. I guarantee you the value exceeds the cost. And of course, last but certainly not least, make sure to go and get your 6 free stocks by downloading Webull and funding your account. Normally it's 2. They bumped it up to 6 for a limited time only, so capitalize on that while you can. You can deposit any amount, even as little as a penny, and it still works. You still get your free stocks. If you refer just one friend to the app by June 6th, Webull's going to give you all the way up to 100 free random stocks, which sounds absurd, but this is part of their advertising budget. Rather than wasting currency on billboards and TV commercials, they reward their users for helping them build their app with them. And of course, if you refer 2 friends, by the end of the month, you have like 1 week left to do this, Webull's going to give you either a free share of Starbucks, Apple, or Google. It's completely random. You get what you get and you don't get upset, but you win no matter what because you're still getting something good out of it. Don't pass up on an opportunity. Webull link in the description. Time is running out. If you don't want the stocks, go and get them anyway. They're free. Then just sell them. Congratulations. Now you have the cash to go and get you some silver or some gold, if that's what you want. Webull link in the description. And I want you guys to head on down to the comments and let me know once again, what are your thoughts on everything shared in today's video? Do you think that the markets are pricing in that the Federal Reserve is going to solve the problem when it comes to inflation, that the Federal Reserve is going to solve the problem when it comes to the on the brink of a recession? Do you think that that's being priced in right now, and do you think that people believe that the solution is only a couple months away and that there's no real need for a flight to safety at the moment? Maybe they don't think that there's any economic or financial danger on the horizon. Maybe they think everything is going to be fine and dandy, sunshine and rainbows later this year. And there's no need for a safe haven. There's no need for financial defense at this time. Is that why? Or is that one of the reasons why we're seeing the spot price of silver move down the last couple of weeks? Then, of course, when it comes to the Federal Reserve's next meeting coming up, June 14th and 15th, we're going to see rates go up. But do you think that rates are going to be raised in larger increments than what we're expecting? And do you think that's going to cause a market shock? Head on down to the comments and let me know anything and everything related to today's video topic. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you tomorrow. Don't you dare stop smiling. Peace.